Is there a surgeon in the house? I've got an older cousin named Vicky, who is near and dear to my heart. A lot of my favorite childhood memories come from spending time with Vic. She taught me how to tie my shoes and how to beatbox, like the rappers, Dougie Fresh and Buffy, the human beatbox of the Fat Boys. She took me trick-or-treating and Christmas caroling. Thank you, Doc. Whenever she made it to any of my school events, the spelling bee, history day, or graduation, Vicky never clapped like a normal human being. She barked, "Arf," to show her approval. And she never, ever let me forget my full whole government name. Vicky would never say hello to me. She would say, "Is that Tejai Devon Beulah?" 3 years ago, that changed. After I defended my dissertation, Vicky started asking, "Is there a doctor in the house?" Then she proceeds with a long list of medications she would like for me to prescribe to her. And I have to constantly tell her, "Vic, I'm not that kind of doctor." Now, as I consider our text for today in Mark 9, we find Jesus instructing the disciples to perform several kinds of amputations. He seems to want the disciples to become surgeons, but not the kind of surgeons or doctors that you or I or even Vicky would think of. Scholars and commentators on the text have suggested that Jesus' references to the hand, foot, and eyes refer to sexual sins in Jewish law, specifically how one deals with oneself sexually. Now, those scholars may be right in their interpretations, and I could be wrong, but I consider the scene in Mark 9 before those passages that we heard today. I get the sense that Jesus was creating space for the disciples to deal intimately and honestly with themselves in the way of self-reflection. Surely, Jesus wanted them to examine themselves and remove any obstacles that kept them from living their best spiritual lives. And I believe that that is the invitation for us today in the text. We're invited to perform surgery on ourselves. Is there a surgeon in the house? In the previous scenes, the disciples come up to Jesus and they say, "Jesus, we saw a man casting out demons in your name, and we told him to stop." And Jesus is like, "Oh no, I imagine Jesus to be from the south side of Youngstown like we are." And he says, "Don't do nothing in my name. Don't stop anybody who's doing anything in my name. Because whoever is not against us is for us." And then Jesus immediately leaves that scene and starts talking about stumbling blocks and chopping themselves up so that they can live their spiritual lives wounded yet whole. There's an invitation for us here today to live our spiritual lives in the same way that Jesus taught in the text. For us on this seminary journey, it is easy for us to be like the disciples and look around at what other people are doing or not doing in their spiritual lives. And we try to compare, we try to stop them because we think that the way they're operating in God or with the Spirit or in the universe is not the same way that we would operate. This invitation to self-examine that I see in Mark 9 is not limited to the Christians in this room or on the Zoom call. It's for the UU students, the Buddhist people, or a person who may not follow a religious faith, but all of us have an interest in deepening our capacity for human flourishing. You're committed to removing any obstacles that keep you from pursuing a just, generative, and sustainable world. To get there, we must do a little surgery on ourselves. Is there a surgeon in the house? Is there anybody here who can sit down with themselves and perform a preoperative diagnosis? As you consider your hand, foot, your eye, three parts I want to collapse together into a mindset. As you consider your thoughts, the things that cause you to stumble in your mind. Can you sit with the pre-op questions and say, is it righteousness or self-righteousness? Are they always talking about race, or are you a racist? Is it really hard to remember they, them pronouns? Or are you just unwilling to affirm another person's humanity? Do you have to always say yes every time an opportunity comes by your way? Or are you offering constructive criticism, or is it really condemnation? Is there a surgeon in the house? Is there anybody here who can sit down with themselves and actually perform an amputation? Are you willing to take a class that you think has nothing to do with you because it's called Intro to Black Church Studies, or ecofeminism and food justice, or queer theological ethics? Or do you think that maybe somehow the professors of those courses are unqualified to teach you? Are you willing to attend a campus event on a Thursday night that would challenge your theology and your view of the world? Are you willing to read a book on the recommended list, not the required, because you're not just here for ordination, but you're here to get an education? Is there a surgeon in the house? Is there anybody here who can sit down with themselves and perform the post-operative care? Can you ask somebody, an instructor, a classmate, a therapist, a spiritual director for help? Can you listen and take their advice? Can you be still and quiet? Can you rest? Is there a surgeon in the house? Now I imagine that there are about 5 groups of people here online and in the Zoom room. Group 1, we're the folks who think that there's nothing wrong with us. We're overly confident that the way we see the world is the right and the only way. To this group, I say with love, as painful as it might be, you might need a second opinion. And this community is full of people who are capable and competent to help you out. We're here to tell you that it's okay to challenge the traditions that taught you that your race, your gender, your sexuality, your social class, your faith beliefs are more superior to others. It's okay to learn from this community and know that all roads that lead to human flourishing and thriving matter. Group 2, those who need surgery but feel inadequate to perform amputation because we're afraid to cut away the wrong thing. We're stumbling around in pain and confusion. I want to affirm your call to this place, the place you've decided to work, to study, and to live at. It's a good place to help you to become a competent surgeon. Group 3, there are those of us who are unsure. We're still trying to figure out our preoperative questions. I want to tell you that uncertainty is okay. Spend time with yourself, with the Spirit, with Spirit-led folk, particularly those people who may not approach the Spirit in the same way that you do. And learn. Don't be afraid. You are supported and guided. There's group 4. There's those of us who know that we need surgery and we're prepared to operate. And I encourage you today to make the first cut. and know that your spiritual journey, the development of your inner life, will be better because of it. And then there's group 5. We're the people who think that there's nothing wrong with us because it's clear that we're committed to performing regular surgery on ourselves. We make time for self-reflection and self-examination when we notice a limiting thought or belief. And we cut it off before it starts to spread. We've embraced our woundedness as we journey towards wholeness. In the end, we're all on a spiritual journey towards wellness and wholeness. We want to be thriving, productive, impactful leaders. And it's better to navigate that journey with a few wounds than to stumble around raising hell for ourselves and others. Is there a surgeon in the house?